Hello, this is Melvin Kenny, performance coach at Core Excellence, and welcome to the second episode of Let's Get to the Core. Our guest is Leah Mamane, who is a Canadian powerlifter who's ranked 10th in the top 10 classic full power of CPU Nationals. I wanted her to join the show to share about her training regimen and recovery tools to compete at a higher level, but most important, how she was able to adapt to a ketogenic lifestyle as an athlete during the season and off season. There's a lot of misconception, and so that's why I wanted her to join and explain her experience. Now, let's not take too much time and let's get to the core. Hello, Leah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good.
How you doing?
Good, you?
I'm good. Well, thank you for joining Let's Get to the Core. I think you're a good person because you're a power lifter, and throughout your powerlifting, let's say, career, you've changed to a ketogenic lifestyle, and there's a lot of misconception, and I think you're the right person for that. And since you've been competing for close to 8 years.
I started in 2012, so a bit more than 8 years. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's okay. So yeah. So you you know how to manage your training and your recovery, so you get to compete at the highest level. So that's why I invited you at Let's Get to the Core.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for having me. First of all, it's actually my first interview. So it should be interesting.
It's gonna be fun. So yeah, let's start with what made you decide to compete in powerlifting?
So all my life I've been doing gymnastics. So I started at the age of 3 till about my teenage years.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I stopped gymnastics, I just wanted to stay in shape. So I wanted to keep the physique and just the overall health. So then I joined just a YMCA. And the head trainer at that YMCA, or the person in charge, was very much into the old school way of lifting. So the squat, the deadlift, the bench press, all the basics. So he taught me as I was there, because I wanted to learn how to properly squat and so on and so forth. And then he's the one who actually mentioned that there was this sport called powerlifting.
Okay.
And he said, well, because of your background in gymnastics, you're pretty strong for a woman or a female or a teenager at that age. And then he introduced me to the sport, and then ever since then it's taken off. And I didn't start definitely this strong. I was very beginner in the beginning.
Yeah.
But then it just, over time, it took off, and that's when I developed a passion for it.
That's pretty cool. And it's funny because I was watching on the website, I think the powerlifting website, and it shows how you've progressed from X amount of number through where you're at right now. So you see, it's there's been a big progress in powerlifting.
Yeah, you can see there's a graph, and it just incrementally goes up.
Yeah, but yes, step by step,
cool.
You see. But that's pretty nice. So before your first interview, you started talking about your experience by doing some blogs on Core Excellence, and in your journey blog, you start with the motto "Strong is beautiful." Can you elaborate the source of it?
Yeah, no problem. So that was my motto almost from day one of when I started training, was almost to break the stigma of how women, if they lift heavy, they'll look manly, and so on and so forth. So from day one, I wanted to break that stigma of the whole manly look. So that's where that strong and beautiful sort of developed. But then as I more and more, as I lifted and had more experience, I realized that the word strength is not just the physical or the lifting part, that it also embodies the mental and the confidence and so on and so forth.
Okay.
That there's nothing more attractive than a woman with confidence.
This is true.
So the word strength, or beauty and strength, is not just the lifting heavy. It's so my mission, I could say my mission, would be to help other girls realize that they could be physically strong and not look manly. A lot of it is diet, so that you'll see, I guess, later in this interview. But also that it's more of the confidence, and just to believe in yourself and to have that confidence is also part of that strength. So so it's pretty much that there's nothing more beautiful than a woman who's strong both physically and mentally.
Well, that's a pretty nice motto. And you can see there's as you said, there's a big misconception as if women start lifting, they're gonna look like men. But when you start looking, well, even when you look at you, it's the total opposite. You look better, and it's nice that you use the powerlifting as a tool, but also to say like, okay, like it helps you mentally also. It's not only the physique. So that's really nice.
Yeah, because I didn't start off like in the beginning. I used to look at all the Instagram models and all that stuff, and I always used to say like, I want to be like them, I want to look like them. But then you realize you are your own person, so you'll never actually look identical to them because you have your own body, you're individual, you have your own mindset, you have your own physique. So you can't keep chasing what other people want, and you have to pretty much work on yourself and how the beauty and the strength, it all comes from within you. You can't go out there and try to find it.
You're totally right. That's really well said. So throughout your since 2012, like you've been improving in powerlifting. What made you consider changing your nutritional lifestyle to ketogenic?
So I only been keto about a year. It hasn't actually been that long. I used to eat all the carbs, all the cheat meals, all that stuff. So it was only recently, the past year, I've been seeing an iridologist. So that's someone who looks at the pupil in your eye and then what you're predisposed to and certain health conditions.
Thank you.
So I went to see them, and I've been seeing this iridologist. His name's Gino Belafonte. And he's told me like for a while now that sugars seem to be an issue. I had to avoid gluten and all these little things to work on. So when my coach, actually Don White from Core Excellence, where I presently work, when he went to the Metabolic Health Summit, so he and the biohacking seminars, and he got all into that. He, I guess, saw that there was this ketogenic diet out there, and he researched more on it. And then he realized that it is another way to change your fuel source. So to not be on sugars and to fuel more off of the fat, and how it could help metabolically in the gut and so on and so forth. So all the little issues I was having, he wanted to, I guess, see how it could benefit me gut-wise.
Okay.
But then afterwards, you saw the transfer was through that Metabolic Health Summit, there was a Dom D'Agostino. So he is one of the representatives, or if I think one of the owners of that Metabolic Health, or in charge. He lifts quite heavy, and he's fully keto, if not even carnivore. So it was possible to keep the strength and still be keto. So through gut and the strength, we decided to test it out, and it actually seemed to be the perfect cocktail for me.
Well, that's pretty nice, because I'm surprised of your answer, because I thought it was you started ketogenic for performance, but it was mostly for your health, and then it transferred to the competition. So that's
more exactly. So it was more to become metabolically flexible and to address my whole gut issues, and then it actually transferred directly to my performance. So it worked out well.
That's cool. So you had to adapt to the diet, but can you explain like the challenge that you've experienced before you were able to adapt to a ketogenic lifestyle?
So in the beginning, the transfer was quite difficult because I was running so much on the sugars, and I had to transfer to the fats. So but the only thing that did help me is I was never someone to eat like the bread, the pasta. So all those like starchy carbs, I was already not eating so much of it.
Okay.
So that part of it did help me. But one thing was that in doing the transfer, it was hard for my body to adjust. So when I was trying to doing the transfer while I was training. And then I would feel a lot of like nausea, dizziness mid-training. So to the point it was really hard to lift heavy. So I was feeling all the keto flu symptoms.
Okay, so it's keto flu. Okay.
Exactly. So the fatigue, the nausea, the brain, the headaches, and so on and so forth. So then we realized that my body was transitioning, but it didn't fully make the jump.
Okay.
So that's when I pretty much my coach advised me, Don, to do a full metabolic circuit. So I actually took the Core Excellence Athletic Development Phase 5, the last phase of after a whole summer. And I just took one workout and banged it out, and it was rough. So I did it fasted. So I completely depleted my sugar stores. I was struggling to whoever was in the gym heard me panting and huffing and puffing, of course, because
laying down dead on the ground.
Yeah, by the end of it, I was on the turf, looking up, and I couldn't move.
Thinking of life for a moment,
Exactly. So ever since then, I pretty much, I had no more of those symptoms, but then my body was slowly I wasn't losing the weight like they said. I felt better energy-wise, but the weight was still staying. So then that's when I went back to the iridologist. and he checked me again, and he noticed that my body was not absorbing the fat, and it was pretty acidic actually.
Okay.
So my blood was a marker that was showing, which never did before. So something wasn't like working well.
Okay.
So then that's when him and my coach worked together, and they realized that I needed to add in more like greens and sprouts just to remove the acidity, because my body wasn't, I cut carbs so much, and then I increased the fat so much with the protein that my body wasn't absorbing any of the fat. So imagine being keto and you're not absorbing any of the fat. It's kind of useless.
Yeah, it's like pretty much no fuel in a way, you know?
Exactly. So just increasing like a little bit of the sprouts and so on and so forth, my body right away like dropped the 10 pounds.
Okay.
So
pretty much like before even started seeing some result, people should expect to have some type of adaptation, like a long adaptation before they start seeing some result, kind of.
Yeah. So it took me about, I would say at least 2 to 3 months before I actually dropped any sort of weight. So it took a while, but you really got to make sure you have all the pieces together. So the food, you kind of have to tweak it. You have to figure out what the right cocktail for you is. And then the intake of sodium and magnesium, which I think we'll obviously get into in this conversation. That's a huge part of the keto diet. But yeah, so you really got to fine tune and then listen to your body. If you feel one day you're bloating, then you have to think like, okay, why? Look back at what you ate. It's a matter of fine tuning what's right for you, because not every person will react to, let's say, the keto or a low carb diet in the same way, because everyone's body is very different.
Yeah, it's true. I see what you mean. So for those people, like, as you said, because people won't react the same way in a ketogenic athlete. So for the athletes and general population who would consider changing their nutritional lifestyle to ketogenic, what are key adjustments that they have to keep in mind to get closer to their fitness goals and prevent like the symptoms of keto flu? You spoke about magnesium and the greens. So
So first and foremost, I would say, like, why do you want to be keto? Is it just to lose weight? Is it for a metabolic issue? Is it because you want to increase your strength, the recovery time? You have to figure out exactly why.
Okay.
And then from there, that's when you could, I guess, I would recommend definitely working with someone who's well-versed in the topic of ketogenic diet. Doing it on your own or sometimes reading what's online is not always, there's a lot of gimmicks out there. So you kind of have to know exactly which resource to get to. But definitely help get guided by someone who's well-versed in it. But then, from there, you pretty much have to fine tune the diet, see what amount of macros work for you. So maybe you're someone who needs more fat or more protein or more greens. Definitely to avoid those keto flu symptoms, you got to deplete those glycogen stores in order for your body to transfer over to the fat stores, to use the fat stores. And then from there, it's very important to have magnesium, potassium, and sodium. So I was very fortunate throughout this keto transition. A good friend of mine, so she reached out to Elemental Labs, which is the salt company that I constantly drink. So she mentioned how my story and so on and so forth. And then they actually, now I'm fully ambassador for Elemental Labs.
That's pretty nice.
Which helps a lot, because the like little packs of water, which you put in a shaker, and I just drink it throughout the day, and I get the exact amount of sodium, magnesium, and potassium. It's just because when you go keto, your body, in changing the fuel source, it also depletes, or it changes a lot of the cycle in terms of sodium and so on in your body. So your body excretes a lot of sodium, which you got to kind of replenish for you to balance out.
Okay, I see. Understand.
Yeah.
So as you said, like, there's a lot of resources about ketogenic diet. So let's say, like, who are the people that you'd recommend to get guidance, whether it's for performance or lifestyle? Because you spoke about Gino Belafonte. Yeah,
so he's a neurodologist. He does know about keto, but I would definitely find someone well specialized in keto. So I have a couple. I mean, if ever people have questions, they could always reach out to me and I could mention it. I'm very fortunate to have a coach who researches a lot of this stuff and reads up on it, who went keto himself and had experience before even advising me to go on it. So having a coach that did all that definitely helped, and I could always go to him for questions. But there are definitely people well-versed. I know now at Core Excellence, there's Kayla. So she's actually really well-versed in the topic. Holistic with Kay. She works with us and she does nutrition for Core Excellence. So she did a course and so on and so forth. So find people who are well versed in the topic who could actually help you. Online, there are definitely some great resources. So I use a lot ketogenic.com.
Yeah.
There's a lot of great recipes out there, but you really got to look at the proper sources, because there's a lot of, like, it's not just eating bacon and pounding butter on everything you eat. So
that's like the biggest misconception about keto, eh?
Yeah, like I have occasionally bacon, but it's definitely not a main like fat source for me.
It's not the main thing. Yeah, I see.
So yeah, ketogenic.com. If you look at Metabolic Health Summit, there's a bunch of Ben Greenfield. There's a bunch of articles you could find in terms of helping your body and getting sources. But there are a bunch of, I guess, false sources out there. So you kind of have to be careful with that.
Like how to lose 15 pounds in 3 days with the ketogenic
lifestyle. Yeah, exactly.
Stuff like that.
A lot of these websites go very extreme, which the keto diet is a transition. It's a lifestyle. So it's not just like a 1 week quick fix.
It's a big adaptation, as you said. Like you have to go through some transition to get to the ketogenic.
Exactly. There's a transition period. It is a commitment for sure. Definitely got to be disciplined, because you really got to watch what you eat. It's probably more challenging if you're used to the sugars, but so I would say definitely there's resources out there, but ask someone who's either done it themselves or is well versed in the topic, and then go from there. That would be the best bet.
That's a good answer. So you said like that you've followed the athletic development program with Core Excellence by doing the phase 5s, and even like from phase 1 to phase 5 throughout your off season. And could you explain like why you don't stick with the main list of powerlifting, and how a general athletic development program has helped you with the specificity of powerlifting?
So I actually I actually asked Don that question. He's my coach, and I was curious to hear exactly his perspective. I kind of knew the answer to that, but so pretty much a lot of it is so in my off season, which is probably from March up until September, October, I barely power lift at all. So I really step away. I still lift, but I step away from the squat, bench, deadlift, the low rep scheme. I do the athletic development at Core Excellence. So he mentioned that a lot of it is to also calm my mind. So step out of what I'm used to mentally.
Okay.
Just because powerlifting is it's a lot of focus and a lot of like hit the numbers and go up every week. So I have to kind of step back for that and not worry so much about the heavy lift. So I would do the athletic development program, which is like a lot of cardio for me. I'm not used to that. So I mean, because the athletic development transitions from phase 1, which is more of an introduction and opening the hips and getting the core to fire. So it eases me in, but even phase 1 normally kills me. Like I get out of breath, I get dizzy. I'm so used to the 1 rep, rest 3 minutes.
A lot of rest. You're just on the bench, just chilling.
So it's probably going to be the 3rd or 4th year that I do the athletic development in the summer. And it makes me, we do it more in terms of becoming overall athletically. So to get more explosive through the plyos and the Olympic lifts. I still do the strength component that there is, but it's very different. It's let's say banded trap bar. Like there's it's a different power outputs versus just like firing for that 1 rep.
I see. So
it's to become overall a better athlete, and then all those the single leg work, different planes of motion, because powerlifting is always in 1 plane. So to do the single leg, the explosiveness and all that, it just allows me to become a better athlete as a whole. So when I go back to my sport, I'm just more complete.
So yes, for me, it was surprising that you follow like a general athletic development, because already, so let's say like when you take for example, like a sports where it's not lifting, well, they do their sports, and then off season, most of the time they start lifting. But with powerlifting, I was like, okay, but the powerlifting, you're lifting. So I was like, okay, so if you have to prepare for that, you have to lift also, like, but you have to lift in a different way.
Yeah, so definitely the muscle memory, or the way of competing in powerlifting, it sticks. So it's like learning a bike. You don't forget how to do it. It does take, from going from, let's say, from the athletic development program to powerlifting, it'll take like about a week or 2 just to be like, okay, this is how I hold the bar. Like this is the cue. So the cues change, or a little, But the memory comes back after like a week. Like I'm going from single leg squatting, like goblet, to a back squat. I'm able to transition quite fast. It could be through practice over the years also, but yeah, your body kind of relearns, kind of like riding a bike. You relearn the second you jump back on the bike. So
Yeah, in a fast way.
Exactly. So the transition is not too bad. So I guess, I don't know, like I can't speak for other lifters, but I'm not, all you, like what you see is that a lot of them do stick in their powerlifting regime.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate that I work at Core Excellence and I was exposed to this program. Or else I would be at the YMCA still lifting throughout my off season.
Yeah.
But definitely it did help. It helped me become overall a better athlete.
Oh, that's cool. So there's training, but there's also recovery. And, you know, with recovery, there's a lot of stuff. Like you'll see some research saying, okay, if you do this, like it's going to help with your recovery. It's going to help you perform better. But there's like a lot of tools for recovery. So how do you assess like the effectiveness of recovery tools so you can recover like a champ?
So same thing. My coach is well versed in all these little topics and went to all these seminars. So it definitely helps. But yeah, so I wasn't always like the way I am now. So now I wear like blue light blockers at night. So the exposure to the light allows me to calm down at night. I wear the Aura ring, which tracks all my sleep. I do power dots, so the muscle stim at night. But these are all tools I learned as I went through all my years, let's say, working at Core Excellence. I learned all these tools. Recovery, I would say, is about, let's say about at least like 85% of the work. So, I mean, you're only good as much as you recover from the workout before. So you could have a great session, but then if it takes you 4 or 5 days to really recoup, to push again, you just wasted 4 or 5 days of development. So I really try to make like optimal. I'm very disciplined. So when it comes to that, like if my coach says you got to sleep 9 hours for the next 5 months, like 9 o'clock, I'm right in bed. I'm calculating, make sure I got my 9 hours. So a lot of it is discipline too. Recovery is huge. I do a lot of hot cold contrast. So I'll go to the spa. I pretty much, I try to check off everything off the list just because I hate wondering what if.
Yeah.
So like if I'm hurt, let's say I have really sore legs, I don't want to know like what if I did my muscle stim, or what if I went to the spa, like would I be stronger? So I always want to recuperate the optimally just so I could perform at my best, because I'm quite a perfectionist. So yeah, I hate the what ifs. So I'll check everything off the box if need be, just to say like I did all I could and this is what I got to. But yeah, recovery tool, it's really much about habits. So you got to develop the daily habits. It's a commitment, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's how bad do you want it? And yeah, so you pretty much check off all the lists and develop those night habits, morning habits, whichever works for you. But recovery is pretty much food, rest, sleep, all the tools, the mental part, because you could be sleeping like 10 hours, but you necessarily not the best quality sleep. So you really gotta be aware of what your body feels.
I see. So did you have to like change some of the tools that you had?
The tools in terms of what I used?
Yeah, what you use as a recovery. So you said like you have like the glasses. Actually, you have from what I know, you use the power dots. But have you had like some of those stuff that you're like, okay, you know what? Instead of this, I'm going to change it to something else.
So pretty well, I would say that I recover quite well, especially in season. I barely have injuries. So I recover quite well from my workouts and I'm able to always perform. So I found the right cocktail for me.
Okay.
So like after a workout at night, I'll stim my quads because they always seem to get tighter. I'll wear the blue light blockers. I won't watch TV up until a certain time. So it's like I found the right cocktail that allows my body to fully relax.
Okay.
In season, I'll go to the hot cold contrast spas at least maybe like 3 times, 4 times a month. Just because I know that works for me.
Okay.
So you got to find the right cocktail and what works for you.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely recovery tools. I wouldn't say I would change anything. It's more I added to my toolbox.
Okay.
And everything I added so far seems to work. So if it works, why change it?
Keep it. Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty much what it is. Okay, I get it now.
Yeah, exactly.
So for you in powerlifting, getting the numbers is kind of pretty important for you. So you're a woman, so like when you go to like Hormonal Cycle, like how do you adjust like your program?
So that's something I had to become more aware of. So I learned over the years. It's probably only in the last 2 years I really noticed it. Before that, I just never paid attention to it.
Okay.
So I actually went to see, so I was during the lifts, I was realizing like the bracing ability was getting difficult because I don't like to rely on the belt or the equipment. I like to be able to brace on my own just for safety reasons, to get the proper core functioning. Just because when you put the belt on after, you're that much stronger.
Okay.
So I had gone to see a pelvic floor specialist, actually. Her name's Alexandra Azoulay. And I was same thing. How bad do you want it? If I wanted to get better at my sport. So to me, like it was a given. I had to go see her to see what happens.
Understand.
So then she gave me a couple homework and so on. And pretty much my ability, the pelvic floor is a huge muscle in terms of your core. And my ability, I was able to contract very well and brace very well, but my ability to relax was really hard. So it was like, imagine flexing your bicep for like a competition lasts about 5 hours. So imagine flexing your bicep for 5 hours long. Chances are at the end of the 5 hours, there's nothing to flex. So I was able to contract, but not relax. So that's what I had to work on. And then in working on that, I was able to contract my core better. So it was more, I don't necessarily change my, I guess my training cycle during my hormonal phase. But what I became aware of is that when it's the time of the month for a female, it's really hard. Well, it's more hard in terms of pelvic control.
Okay.
So to contract the core, to contract the pelvic. So the pelvic integrity is a lot harder to keep. Okay. So, I mean, maybe during that week period, I won't go shoot for a PR, or sometimes I'll get more jitters because your iron tends to drop. So in my diet, I'll just have more red meat. Okay. So there's ways to work around it, I guess. But it seems like, I mean, competitions, I can't really control. So there's a couple times I had it like right at my competition and I had to
So that must be the toughest. So that must be like the toughest time to get.
Well, that's when I realized I had to figure out how I could deal with it. Because competition, I can't control when it comes or not. The day of the competition, I can't be like, oh, I can't lift today. Like I had to learn to deal with the actual thing. So I was like, okay, if it comes, what do I need to watch out for? So that's when I realized I have to eat more red meat. I have to learn to relax and do my exercises so that I could have the ability during a competition to relax in between lifts, because you're pretty wired. So you got to kind of calm down during in between. Okay. So same thing, the what if. So I didn't want to know. So I learned exactly the tools I needed to do in case. But I wouldn't, I wouldn't say stop training. Just figure out maybe that day don't shoot for a PR, or learn dietary wise what you could adjust in order to not get the jitters and so on and so forth. Okay, that's good. That's good to know. Yeah. And so it was in March, if I remember, that your last national competition was. You know, there's always something like to get from every challenge, and the challenge that you went through is like you had like your division was pretty stacked. And what did you take from the journey of your last like national competition? So last competition, every year there's something new. I seem to learn something new every year. The most recent one was the mental part of it. So something new this year was that, I had fear, especially when it came for the deadlift. For some reason, it just seemed to all my nerves, it just went into that one lift. So, I mean, during season, during prep and all that, I felt like fully confident. I was good. But I guess all those little jitters I kept pushing aside throughout the whole prep just like built up and went on to one lift. Okay. So it was about probably a month before nationals, when I had to just test my 1 RMs, but not fully 1 RMs. So about, 80, 90%. And it was like brain to body was not connecting. So it's a bit scary, especially like when you have nationals in a month and you need to perform, and you you could do it, but physically you can't, and you don't know why. So it was a lot of the mental game. I had a lot of fear. I didn't want to admit I had that fear. So that's one thing. Definitely don't bottle stuff up and think like, oh, I'll just deal with it later. It creeps up on you.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so I would just bottle it up. I wouldn't say anything in my trainings. I would just be like, oh, it's just jitters. I'll get past this. I'll be okay.
I see.
Until I guess the day of competition, it went okay. I'm not going to say I did still lift relatively good weight. Like I'm still somewhat proud of it, but I know it wasn't my best.
It could have been better, like way better.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I know it wasn't my true potential. So I feel like there's still definitely some unfinished business.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, yeah, I'm trying to think. Sorry, I went off track there, I think.
but it's a good answer. It's just, like, it's the mindset. The mindset is important. Yeah. The mindset is important.
I was like, wait, what's his question again?
No, it's like what you
so this year was fear.
It's a lesson, yeah.
It was definitely fear.
Dealing with the fear. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm one who definitely puts my emotions aside, because I'm like, I got work to do. I can't deal with this stuff. So by putting it aside, I guess it just built up more and more. And then it just didn't all come together at the time I needed it to come together. But I would say this year is fear. I mean, last year I didn't seem to have this issue. I was able to, I have full confidence, and I guess that's why I was able to place podium.
Yeah.
But the year before I had a couple upsets. So same thing, it would happen on the deadlift. So it seems to be the deadlift that gets my heart racing. But
like, is your deadlift like is the strongest lift? Is that your strongest lift in powerlifting? Personally,
that's one thing I could say is I would say I'm pretty well like balanced across the three. Deadlift, for some reason, I seem to get the most nerve-wracking. Like I get the most jitters when I'm about to deadlift. But more in practice, not so much on the competition day, which is weird.
Okay.
It seems to be in practice, but you got it. Yeah, it's the fear. The mental is huge. Now I'm working on that mental. So last year I had the mental down pack. So I was like, okay, I'm good. I'll just be good when national comes. I don't need to really like tackle it. But then it came right back to bite me. So,
but at least
definitely you got to work on it.
Yeah, the good thing is that you have lessons in all the competitions, but whenever there's a lesson, you try to cover it. Like you try to cover every aspect of powerlifting. So that's pretty nice. That's pretty.
So because the years prior, the original issue I used to get at competitions, or why I would choke, was because my adrenaline would be like skyrocketing. So like the raw part, but I don't look like a raw person, and definitely in competitions I just sit there and I'm quiet, but internally I'm like buzzing like
things
crazy.
Are running,
Yeah. So we realized that my adrenaline would spike so high that come time to, let's say, do my last lift, which is the deadlift, I would crash energy wise. So it's hard to lift all that weight when you're like fighting for energy just to stay awake. Like,
okay, I see.
So that was my original issue. Then last year it seemed to go well. I think my confidence was probably a bit higher last year, and that's why it went well. And then this year there was that fear. So I guess because it wasn't fully dealt with in the beginning, when my adrenaline would spike and I'd crash before a deadlift, I didn't really deal with it. So it kind of creeped back. It's way back in this year. And then, so now I'm dealing with it, definitely.
That's what counts.
I didn't want to admit that I could have fear, because at the end of the day, I'm not Superwoman. So, but yeah, so definitely, just finding someone to talk to, seeking out help. You could read all the books you want. Doesn't necessarily mean you're going to address it. So you definitely have to take action in terms of addressing it. Don't just think a book will motivate you. A book won't fix you. You got to fix yourself. It's
pretty much like, I think it's you accepting that it's there and then learning how to deal with it. I think that's how you deal with fear. But that's pretty cool.
And this year it's the same thing. I hate knowing what if. So I know that the mental part is probably the part I need to work on in order to get to that next level, to make it to worlds, to get past all these little hurdles. So now I admitted I definitely need to work on my mental in terms of the pressure of the day, the anxiety and all that stuff when I have to compete, so it doesn't affect me. So that's what I'm working on now, just because I want to get to the next level, and I mean my goal is to get to world. So
yeah, that's a nice goal.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like if you deal with it and all the lessons that you've worked with, I'm sure you'll be able to get to that level, which would be really nice.
It'll come.
It'll come. Gotta
I'll
put that work.
I'll get there.
That's cool. But if anybody would like to contact you, what is the best way to contact you, Leah?
I mean, I'm on social media, so you could pretty much contact me through there. If not, I mean, Leah@coreexcellence.com. You could send me an email. I'd be happy to answer questions. I would love to help anyone who's either interested in powerlifting, wants to know more about diet in terms of lifting, or just a female who maybe needs that extra motivation or experience. I'd be more than happy to help and share. So feel free to reach me through any medium that works for you. Well,
I'm happy that you came at Let's Get to the Core to share your experience as a power lifter and a person who practiced ketogenic. Thank you very much. And
yeah, thank you very much. It's just one thing, if I could leave, I guess a final saying for everybody is the changes you want won't necessarily happen in the instant you want it. So you have to stay disciplined and committed, and things take time. So the discipline is what's going to get you there. So, I mean, it may not happen in a month or 2 months. So look, since 2012, I'm trying to get to worlds. It's a big commitment. So I've had that end vision and I just don't stop, and I'll do everything necessary just to get to that end vision to say I did it. So don't quit, stay disciplined, and reach out to people who maybe can help you along your way, and you'll get there. Just, it takes time.
Well, that's a great way to end the interview. I don't have nothing to say. Thank you, Leah. Stay home.
Thank
stay
you
safe.
very much for
Look, stay strong, stay beautiful.
Yeah.
All right, take care, Leah.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.